Hey, can you hear me? Right. So let me just give a set of exercises on applications, which we will just limit to exponential growth and decay. We won't include topics like uh, continuous compound interest, else logistic growth. Since also we don't have much time, I don't want to burden you with a lot of topics to review on for the finals. I will just be doing two or most three applications for this last session. Then if you have questions, we will entertain those later. I will also upload the lecture uh, in the previous class, which is on exponential equations. I want you to study especially the one where you have to use two variables, or rather two dummy variables to solve an exponential equation. So um, I hope that you uh, watch all the lectures and practice exercises, do them all so that you will be well prepared for the finals and you won't have missed anything uh, of importance, right? Um, I've already, by the way, anyway, given the coverage uh, as an announcement in Canvas. So four main topics lang ang nilagay ko doon. Inverse functions, exponential equations, applications, and trigonometry. Trigonometry lang naman yung kagaya ng quiz 5, finding the other trig functions given one of the values, one of the trig functions. Okay. So let me do this one first. Let me read the problem. When rats were first introduced into the island of Paraiso, they had no natural enemy, so their numbers increased rapidly. Assume that there were 60,000 rats in 1915 and 2.4 million in 1917. Okay? Assuming that the number y of rats t years from 1915 is given by y equals b e to the kt. Okay, find the following. First, the value of k, use 5 significant digits. So let's do letter A first. So we already given the model as an exponential equation of the form y equals b e to the kt, where y is the population, t is the number of years from the year 1915. Okay, so let's solve for the unknowns first, which are b and then k, which are the initial population, and the we call k the constant of growth, or the growth constant. If of course it's decaying like in substances, then it's the decay constant, or the constant of decay, right? So let's solve for those. And actually, since t is measured from 1915, so that the year 1915 is actually your year zero, so that the year zero actually gives us the initial population, which in the problem is given to be 60,000. So actually, B is already 60,000, but let me show why. B is the initial growth because when t is zero, right? If t is 0, what happens? This is the initial time. So that gives you the circumstances initially, or the initial circumstances, like the initial population or the initial amount, etc. So if you plug in t equals 0, note that y will be b e to the k times 0. And then the exponent here will just be 0, and e to the 0 is 1. So actually, this tells you that b is the initial condition, or the initial amount, the initial population, depending on the given in the problem. So we can show this still by just substituting these values here. Okay, this given here, that when t is 0, 1915, year 0, the population is 60,000. So if you plug in those values into the given equation, we will have 60,000 equals b e to the k times 0. And again, e to the 0 is 1, right? So that gives you b as 60,000. So now we can rewrite the equation as y equals 60,000, the population in year 0, or 1915, e to the kt. Again, t is from 1915, okay? The number of years from 1915. Now we are to solve for k, so we need another given, and we are told that 2.4 million in 1917, 2 years after. Okay, no natural enemies, no like eradication of some form using perhaps pesticides, o pesticide ba o ano ba ginagamit? What do we call that? What do you call rat poison? Meron bang spatial ano yun? You also call it, di ba, pesticide, kasi pests din naman ng rats, ano? But anyway, so we are told that it's 2.4 million in 1917, and the base year is 1915, so 1917 will be 2 years from 1915. So t equals 2. When t equals 2, the population is 2.4 million, or 2,400,000. Now we plug that into the equation here, we get k. Then we divide by 60,000, we get e to the 2k. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 240 divided by 6 is 40, right? So we take the ln of both sides, then ln and e cancel out, right? Ln e to the x equals x. So 2k equals ln 40, k equals 1/2 ln 40, and we are to use 5 digits. So we round that off. And we have 1.84444. Okay. And then we have to answer the other items, some items there in the problem. So we already found k. So next, how many will there be in 1920? Round off to the nearest million. 1920 is 5 years from 1915, right? So t equals 5 for letter B. So we now have y equals 60,000 e to the kt. So k is 1.84444 t. Then we just plug in t equals 5. Okay, compute. Round off to the nearest million. And we have 60 million, 607 million. Round off to the nearest million, so 607 million. Let me write the exact, precise, the value correct to 2 decimal places. Now there's no 0.35 rat or rats. So you'll have to actually round that off to 139. Diba? Kasi hindi pa naman kumbaga nabubuo yung rat na yon, no? I mean, you understand what I mean, diba? Pero we are to round this off to the nearest million. So dalawan yan, 607 million. No? There, that's the answer for letter B. Any questions so far? Just unmute your microphone para makita yung chat. In-ripple window kasi minsan hindi ko magalaw yung control yung Zoom. So, when was the first pair of rats introduced into Paraiso? Okay, tricky question. Ang ibig sabihin lang nito, 1915 kasi yung ginamit nating base year. So probably there were rats already before that, di ba? Nga namang biglang hinilaglag lang yung 60,000 rats doon ng sino-sino, no? So you're going back in time kung dalawa na lang yung population, no? And if there were only 2. Okay. So medyo isipin mo konti yun, anong ibig sabihin ng tanong, di ba? So we are to find time when there were only 2 rats. So again, y equals 60,000 e to the 1.844440. So substitute 2, so for time. So that will be 1 over 30,000 if you divide by 60,000, right? So magiging 1 over 30,000 equals e to the 1.844440. Taking the ln and ln cancels and e cancel out, di ba? Pag in-ln ko to, cancel out yan. So let me just write ln 1 over 30,000 equals 1.844440. So that we have this. T equals, it's negative in value. Okay. So you can write this as negative ln 30,000. There's this rule that ln 1 over x is the same as negative ln x. Kasi yung ln, no? Pina-plug in yan, di ba? Remember, ln 1 over 30,000. You can write this as ln of the numerator minus the ln of the denominator. And ln of 1 is 0. What should I raise e to get 1? Tama? 0. So in general, yung log ng reciprocal is the same as the negative of the logarithm to any base. But anyway, you just need to give the value. So isulat na lang natin 1 over 30,000. So ln 1 over 30,000 over 1.84444. Or minsan kasi maganda tignan lang, no, wala nang masyadong fraction. Pareho lang yung magiging sagot. Ano? Can verify that numerically. So evaluating, and then negative. So you can check negative 5.59. Round off ko na lang sa 2 decimals. So year 2015, right? You subtract that. Let's show here. That's year, sorry, 5.59. That's year 2009. So if you are asked for just the year 2009, when was it introduced? Hindi naman hihingin yung exact month, no? Kasi may 0.41 ka pa. So you just have to round it off to the year. Okay? The round down, kasi kahit na 2009.9, year 2009 pa rin yan, di ba? Kung anong year siya unang na-introduce, so kahit 0.99 pa nga, nasa year 2009 pa rin yan technically, di ba? So if you just ask for the year when they were first introduced, so usually hindi naman nagkakaroon ng 0.99, no? Yan, kagaya nga yan, 0.4. So year 2009. Okay, before an exercise, para lang at least meron kayong konting na practice, let me answer this one. So radioactive or exponential decay naman ito, yung kanina growth, so ang pinagkaiba lang negative na yung exponent kasi nagdi-decay. So it is always assumed na kagaya ng kanina, no, hindi lang binigay dito, exponential yung decay. So if we let A, hindi kasi siya nagbigay ng variable na yan yung amount of the substance, T is time, then pwede nating sundin, no? A equals B e to the kt. Or you can choose your own if you want. A naught for the initial condition or initial amount. Or let's just follow that B e to the kt. Pwede rin naman Y, no? Y be the amount. So Y equals B e to the kt, kagaya ng kanina. So anyway, you can just choose your own favorite variables or letters. Or saan ka nasanay, o convenient ka lang. No? So kung A yung amount ng substance, time, T is time in seconds, dahil seconds yung ginamit dyan. No? So we are told that 5 grams, so A will be in grams, and then time will be in seconds. So 5 grams when it's 30 seconds. Unless minute yung gagamitin mo, so 1/2 yan. Ano? So you can choose seconds, you can choose minutes, but I want to use the unit given there. Pwede rin kasing minutes to para 1/2 na lang ipa-plug in natin. Ano? So mukhang maiksi ang life ng substance na ito. So try natin yung seconds. So A equals B e to the kt. So we are to find the half-life of the substance. Okay. Now we are not given the initial amount B. Okay. So to find the half-life, you have to set, okay, the amount to 1/2 the original amount. So we have okay. Mas dapat inuna ko yata yung practice Okay, hindi binigay yung mga amounts. Anyway. Okay, anyway. Kasi ang initial amount niya is B. Okay. That's when time is 0. May malito kasi kayo, no? Diba, when t is 0, nag-0 to, no? Initial time is 0. So when you set that to 0, laging nag-dB. B is the initial amount of the substance. So for it to get to half, 1/2 ng initial amount. And then you get time. That's the half-life. And the half-life will be independent. Okay, there's a decrease. Okay, let me figure that out later. Okay, so half-life siya, find t. So A is half the amount, and B always cancels out. So the initial amount is irrelevant to this question when you're computing for the half-life actually. Kahit ano yung initial amount niyan, laging pareho yung half-life. Then you take the logarithm of both sides. And then E cancel out. D equals ln 1/2 over K. Okay. Now we are told that 5 grams of a radioactive substance decreased to 4 grams in 30 seconds. Now, how do we get T? That's not enough. Tingnan ko. Usually kasi binibigay yung amount pag may ganito. Just told that 5 grams is decreased. So it's not, the given is not enough dito. Kasi dapat alam natin yung pinanggalingan, dapat percentage kasi yung binigay niya. It should be a percent, not an exact amount kasi hindi mo alam kung gaanong kalaki yung substance, di ba? Halimbawa, 100 grams pala yung pinagmulan and then 5 grams ang nawala. Iba yon sa 10 grams lang yung pinanggalingan, tapos 5 grams ang nawala. Hindi ko lang kung nakat ko yung ibang given dito. Okay, so mukhang kulang yung given. At least sinabi man lang 5% of the substance decreases. Pwede yun kasi 0.05 ng initial amount yon. Hindi magka-cancel dito eh. So let me just do another one. Medyo alangan yung tanong. Okay, ito. Pwede ito. Sana ginawa ko yung isa. Okay, wait. Let me do... I think I gave this doon sa ano, no? Sa videos. Hindi ko nakita mabuti yung problem. Anyway. Okay, so sana magbigay ng iba pa. So ito is one step na ito. Itong problem na ito. Okay, sige. Magbigay muna ako ng isa pa. Halimbawa, binigay kasi yung, to get the half-life kasi, halimbawa, you're given the formula. Say 100 E. Kunyari lang to to the 2T. 2. 1T. Okay? How do you find the half-life of the substance? This should be negative kasi nagdi-decay siya. You just, of course, look at the initial amount, which is the constant always there, okay? Because the initial amount would correspond to t equals 0, diba? Tapos, if you plug in t equals 0, this becomes 1, e to the 0. So the initial amount is 100. So the half-life would correspond to an amount of 50, whether it be in grams, no, or kilograms or tons, kung ano man yung unit na ibinigay. So here, you have to set the amount to half the initial amount to get the half-life. Ganun lang naman yun eh. Yung ibang question kasi dito, medyo one step higher na yung level niya, no? So laging nagwa 1/2 yan. Okay, when you divide by 100. And actually, it's not, the initial amount is not important once, if you're just solving for the half-life. Okay? Kasi kung ito ang initial amount, you just set the amount to half of that. And then laging nagka-cancel yung B. And you always end up with this. 1/2 laging left-hand side. So you get the ln of both sides. Then cancel yan, ano? Then yan, you can solve for the half-life as ln 0.5 over 2.1. Sorry. So negative point, negative, so 0.33 ang half-life niya. So of course, medyo mali yung, hindi maganda yung constant na binigay, no? Pwede sigurong years yan. Kung halimbawa years yan, you can convert it to, say, a different time unit. Say hours or months or seconds. But let me go back to this one. So, sorry for that. Hindi ko nakita yung kulang, no? So, okay, let's just do this. Radium decays according to the formula y equals a e to the kx, where y is the amount of the substance in x years. If radium has a half-life of 1,690 years, find k. So how do we get the unknowns there in the problem, namely a and k? We are just told that the half-life is 1,690 years. How will that help? So time is in years. Hindi na binigay yung unit ng radium, no? Anyway, let's just use units, kung ganon. So half-life is 1,690 years. So that means that, when the time is 1,690 years, the amount y is half. If you change variables tayo, time is x. Okay. So using this, okay, plugging in, a cancels out. You take the ln of both sides. So for k, so k is negative. Masyadong maliit, ano? Very sensitive yung value niya dahil sobrang liit. We just use several decimals there. Okay. Now we won't write that yet. Now that's K. You're not asked for the numerical value. You're not required to round it off. So your final answer should be this one. Okay, dahil hindi hiningi, no? But later on, magagamit natin yan. So, burahin ko na lang muna ito. Yung calculus na lang gagawa niyan mamaya. So next question, how long will it take for 2/3 of the substance to decay? So how will we set up an equation? So y equals a e to the kx. K is already solved. Dito. 2/3 of the substance to decay. So how do we set up an equation to find the time? Time is x. So medyo tricky ito kasi 2/3. Minsan yung iba siniset nila 2/3 of the substance. But since 2/3 ang nag-decay, 1/3, di ba? When 1/3 of the substance is left, how long? It did not take to decay to 2/3 of the substance. 2/3 yung nag-decay, 1/3 yung natira. Y is the substance. So same thing, except na parang third life to, no? Kung may half-life, ito 2/3 life pala. Kasi kapag half-life, yung matitira half din, no? Kaya okay lang. 2/3 ang mawala, 1/3 yung matitira. So 2/3 life, not 1/3 life, no? Parang ganon. Anyway, okay. So getting the ln of both sides, a cancels out first. Then ln and e cancel out, di ba? Then you solve for time x. Then k is found here. Okay? So yung k natin. So using my calculator here to do the thing for us. ln 1/3 divided by k. And k is ln 0.5 divided by, again, 1,609. So the answer is 2,678 years. Let me see some other problems dito sa book. Okay, dito ko kinuha yun eh. Okay, so sa exponential growth and decay, usually ganun lang naman yung ma-encounter nyo, like this one here. Siguro isang illustration pa. I also uploaded the video na sa exponential growth and decay. You might want to check out the problems there. So ito mga direct type na ito, no, na binibigay talaga yung initial condition. Hindi kagaya kanina na yung A, hindi binibigay. Okay, let me read the problem first. In T minutes, there will be F of T bacteria present in a certain culture. So dinidefine lang yung variables dyan where F of T is given by AE to the 0.03T and A is a constant. If 60,000 bacteria are present initially, letter A, how many will be present in 15 minutes? Okay, T is in minutes. Kinalaro yun, ano? Ano ko hindi binigay. So malabo yun. Walang unit na binigay. So how many will be present in 15 minutes? So you're just being asked for the amount or the population of the bacteria when time is 15. Lang siya. Now you have to solve for A. And actually yung A yun na rin eh. No? Pero let me show. Kasi kung hindi naman yan yung initial, then magbibigay yon ng ibang given. No? Like there are 90,000 bacteria after 2 seconds. Then iba yung pagsosolve mo dahil hindi zero yung time. But here, this initial, so f of t equals a e to the 0.03t. So when time is 0, initial, diba? We are told that the amount or the population is 60,000. Pero yung given kanina. So plugging into the equation here, we can solve for the initial amount A, or rather the value of A, which will be the initial amount. Then the exponent is 0. Anything raised to 0 is 1. So this becomes 1. So A is 60,000. In other words, we could have just already immediately plugged in 60,000 for A there because of the keyword there initially. And then there, just plug in for letter A, 15 minutes. And use your calculator. Okay, 94,098.7. So, gawin kong 98 kasi yung 0.7, hindi pa buo yun, di ba? How many minutes will there be 200,000? Here you have to solve an equation. So, this is the model. And the usual way of solving this, 20 over 6, that's 10 over 3. Take the ln, ln and e cancel out. Time is, and then use your calculator. So, compute. So 40 minutes. Okay, so mga ganyan lang, no? Ang lalabas. Actually, hindi ko na isasama talaga yung half-life. Nilagay ko lang yan for additional kumbaga discussion or kumbaga topic. Wala na kasi tayong time, no? Para isingit pa sana yung di kagaya last sem na isama pa namin yung continuous compound interest, logistic growth. Okay. So very shortened din kasi ata ang intercession natin ngayon, no? Usually lang po may 9 weeks. 8 to 9 weeks ngayon, 5 weeks lang, no? So, 1 module per week, as in. Tapos isisingit mo doon lahat, no? Quizzes, midterms, depende pa sa requirements ng teacher. Kung meron pang problem set, minsan may mga homework pa. So, yun lang maganda, 5 weeks tapos, no? Ang hirap. Okay, so that's it. And may tanong kayo regarding the finals or results ng quiz? Kung may maling check, pwedeng tanungin ngayon. So, only 8 participants lang nandito, no? So, yung mga may itatanong lang siguro. Alright, who would like to begin? Meron ba? Or talagang umattend lang tayo? Coverage of this trigonometry, yung teka. Okay. So, siguro magbigay ako, no, ng okay. Singit ko na lang ito. Total, yung iba sa inyo hindi pa nag-quiz. Yung iba nag-quiz na eh. Siguro magbigay pa ako ng isang illustration doon sa trigonometry. Yung types lang ng problems kasi yung you're given one of the trigonometric functions of the angle, you're going to find the 5 others. So let me just sketch a problem from scratch. Ano ba? Kunyari ito, no? You're given Pythagorean triple tayo. Usually 3, 4, 5. 5, 11, 12 ba yun? 5, 12, 13. Anyway, 3, 4, 5. So suppose you're given, say, tangent of theta equals 5 over or 4 over 3. And say sine theta is negative. So you are going to find the other trigonometric functions. You have to show your solution usually using the reciprocal and Pythagorean identities. Ano yung mga Pythagorean identities? 1 plus tangent squared equals secant squared theta. Okay. Then you also have sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1. Then yung katumbas nitong isa, 1 plus cotangent squared theta equals cosecant squared theta. Okay? So, yan yung Pythagorean identities. Actually, they were derived using the Pythagorean theorem. And then, reciprocal identities, yun lang yung reciprocal ng sine, cosecant, no, magka-reciprocal sila. Cosecant theta is 1 over sine theta. Then secant theta is 1 over cosine theta. And then cotangent theta equals 1 over tangent theta. Now, using those two groups of identities, you are going to find the other trigonometric functions of the angle without you solving for the angle. So let's begin with finding the most obvious one from the given, cotangent, di ba? Obvious na obvious si cotangent because reciprocal mo agad yung binigay. Kung binigay yung sine, yung reciprocal ng sine cosecant. So cotangent theta equals 1 over tangent of theta. So it's 3 over 4. So 4 more to go. Now, how do we get the other trigonometric functions? We have to use at least one of the Pythagorean identities, namely 1 plus tangent squared theta equals secant squared theta. And you're given tangent square or tangent. Nag-ano ko ng video dito ha. Saka PDF file. Then you can solve for secant squared here. So, baliktad pa yata yung Pythagorean ko. Anyway, so 9 plus 16, 25. Pwede. 25 over 9 na. Okay. So, secant theta, either ano siya, plus or minus 5 over 3. You have to determine which. Based on the given, tangent theta is positive. So, anong quadrant lang pwede yan? Positive kasi yung tangent theta eh. Ano ba ang tangent theta? Y-coordinate divided by x-coordinate. So either ano siya, both positive or both negative yung x and y. Diba? Kung less than 0, magka-opposite ng sign. So kailangan pareho silang positive para maging positive yung tangent or pareho silang negative. So kung positive, positive, first quadrant. Kung negative, negative, third quadrant. And then you're told that sine theta is negative. Meron lang error kasi doon sa second problem pero hindi na mahalaga doon kung negative or positive yung sasagot nyo sa given numerical value. So kung sine theta negative, ang sine theta is the y-coordinate, diba? Based on the circle, unit circle. So that means the y-coordinate must be negative. So kung y-coordinate mo nasa negative, nasa baba siya. So either quadrant 3 or quadrant 4. So saan siya nagpareho? Sa quadrant 3. Okay? So theta is in the third quadrant and secant theta is the reciprocal of cosine. So ito yung 1 over x. Now, if it's in the third quadrant, the x-coordinate is negative. Di ba? Nasa third quadrant siya. So secant must also be negative. So ano na lang, reciprocal ng secant, cosine theta. Ilan na? 1, 2, then we got 3, 4, isa na lang, 2 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 2 more. Also, we can get sine theta. And ano pa yung isa? Cosecant. No? Now, this time, you will have to use the fact that tangent theta equals sine theta over cosine theta. Kasi pag dinivide mo yung sine and cosine, di ba tangent yun? So you can get sine theta by multiplying cosine theta and tangent theta. And you know already cosine theta. So cosine theta, ito siya, no? And then binigay yung tangent theta kanina. Given siya, 4 over 3. Pwede mo rin gamitin yung Pythagorean identity, sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1 para hindi ka nagagamit nito. Then, determine mo na lang yung tamang sign. So, negative 4 over 5. Then, cosecant. Reciprocal ng sign. So, nagdagdag lang ako. Actually, binigay ko na lang yun as asynchronous talaga ang trig dahil hindi ko na sinama yung maraming topics. Pero ganyan lang yung lalabas pati sa finals. Puro ganito lang yung tanong. As in, ano? So mostly, ano na, expo tsaka application yung tanong sa finals natin, 10 questions. Or, 7 yun, pero may sub-items sa 10 or 11 pa rin yung lalabas. So may tanong pa? So trig lang mama yung sa quiz 5 hanggang open yata yun hanggang midnight, no? Nagkakamali, in-open ko hanggang midnight. Pwede ka pag mag-review kung hindi ka pa prepared. And then, magbibigay ako sa bidal natin, Ms. Calderon, ng 2 files. Exercises yon sa expo functions at expo equations. Para dagdag pa. Bukod doon sa binigay ko sa module. Kasi yung iba sa module, ginawa ko na, no? Sa classes natin. So parang naubos yata yung ibang mga group doon na tackle. Tapos kanina may dinagdag pa ako na merong mahirap doon. Hanapin niyo doon yung may 2 dummy variable. So you have to watch the video. Okay, so if there's no more question, you can go. Meron pa, you can stay. Yes, Ms. Calderon.
Sir, may nagtatanong po about quiz number 4, item 5 po.
What's it about?
Wait lang. Yung may LN, ay ano po, LN 648.
Nag-tackle din ako ng ganun kanina. Pero yung idea doon is yung kunyari ganito, no? P equals, kunyari lang ang log 2, Q equals log 3. What is log 12 in terms of P and Q, no? So, log 2 squared, diba 4 times 3 yan. Then apply the properties. And then ngayon, 2P plus Q. So although ang daming infinitely many combinations kung magse-set ka lang ng isang value, di ba? Pero you just solve. Pero it has to be at least whole numbers ang sagot eh. Or fractions. That maaari. So, is that the question? Tama ba? Nasagot ko ba?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Marami naman nakakuha parehong section. Meron yatang iba, hindi yata na-aral, ano? Kasi hindi na-discuss sa sync. Pero nandun yun sa mga videos yata na in-upload ko yun. Hindi synchronous async videos. If I'm not mistaken. So others? Anong pang tanong? Meron pa bang hindi nag-quiz yata, no? So, yun, at least you already have a tip. So, wala na yata, I guess. End ko na yung meeting, ha? So, wala na tayong class. Chat. Teka. Sir, wala nang sync kasi ano na eh, study day na. So, siguro, kung kailangan nyo ng consultation, ano ba? Kasi I'll be in Calbayog I'll be traveling to Calbayog by car. Summer yon. So, mag-set kayo ng appointment. Kung kayanin ko ng Monday night or Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning to accommodate you. Would you need, Mr. Binwag, a consultation? You can email me. Gawa natin ng way. May sinit yung mga schedule natin. Okay? Others, wala na ha. So, end ko na yung meeting.